Alright, y'all, it's February 14th, and wrote a little something here I'm gonna read out loud. Day 14, which means day 8 back on juicing. Just to give a little recap, I started off juicing beginning of December, first week of December sometime. Went 35 days, had that cooked meal experiment, and then for that cooked meal experiment was like January 8th or something like that. January 8th probably, and a whole month after that was just constant on and off with juicing, juicing 1, 2, 3, not maybe even 6 days, and then falling back into cooked food, like just having this craving, this urge to just keep eating cooked food. And so I dealt with that for an entire month until 8 days ago, which was February 6th, is when I got back on juicing. And the experience from when I first started juicing is entirely different, completely 180 degree, completely different than where I'm at now. And which is what I wrote about, so I'll get started on that now. To get to where I need to get to can only be done by healing and detaching. This healing is necessary. It is critical. This healing is no joke, as this cannot be done coming from ego. When I first started juice cleansing, it was all coming from ego. To prove what I know is correct. To having to prove also because I want to help people. A trauma response, though. To prove my worthiness. I was focused on getting jacked and athletic by working out a lot and getting back into wrestling competition. To prove that this way of health is best for athletics. To boast about the X amount of days I've been juicing, as I told everyone I'll be doing it for a year. All about look at me, look at me, look at me, look at what I can do, listen to what I have to say, follow me to freedom. I even wanted to be cleaned out for the next time I had sex. I had the aroma and flavors of a pina colada. All of this had nothing to do with true healing. It was all to feed my ego, and there was way more than that goes into that too, of all my reasonings to continue on my juicing, all came from ego, all came from the validation of others, all came from to impress others, and all came from vanity of myself and things of that nature. So 35 days into my first juice cleanse, I experiment with cooked food. This was January 8th, 2024. Before this, what kept me from falling off the path was my ego. But I can't brag on what day I'm on if I stop now. Man, I'll seem weak. But my performance for my wrestling match in March, on and on. All about how I'll be viewed, all about how I can please or impress, all about getting the attention the ego craves. All about getting the attention the ego craves and the void it'll fill. Anything a craving or an uncomfortable, anything a craving or uncomfortable feel came, I ran from it. Anytime I think a craving or an uncomfortable feeling came, I ran from it. I had to distract myself because I was egotistic during this process. Anyways, things like facing trauma and being honest and being courageous was not a responsibility the ego had any desire for, as that would be contradicting the ego's purpose with this whole scheme. And like my dad has said, you can hop on this healing journey and just do the physical modalities and or hop on this healing journey, and though it's things that are better to do, though it's things that are more humane to do, it can still totally come from ego. Your intentions can be egoic and self-centered and things of that nature. And so the ego is very deceptive. It is very fucking deceptive. The ego had me under the falsity, the impression that I was doing this with great purpose, the right intention. See, like I thought I was taking great purpose in what I was doing. I thought I had set the right intentions, but that was a veil the ego had me under, you know? So yeah, the ego had me under the falsity, the impression that I was doing this with great purpose, the right intentions, but I wasn't. It was that my intentions were egoic. They were self-centered. They were selfish. They were just egotistic overall. Though underlying, I've had pure intentions, the ego in my program perspective would deceive me as to what was pure or not. So though underlying I've had pure intentions, that's what I've noticed, because I started this journey almost 5 years ago, and I never got fully wrapped up in every modality I got into. Like, I didn't become so deep into it where that was, I mean, I got into them for sure to where that was like what I preached and what I spoke about and what I shared and all this, but because I had such pure intentions underlying that were to seek truth, that were to seek that which is humane, you know, that which is pure, that which is organic, that which is humane. And so I've had these intentions, but they were like underlying to my ego's intentions, because I was so because my entire life I've been building this character. This programming has continually been hardwiring itself. These characters I've been playing, the ego overall that I've been playing, those intentions are on top of my pure intentions. Like, I would crave pureness and wholeness and such, but you know, I really did enjoy having being looked at like the guy who had the knowledge, being looked at as a good-looking guy, being looked at as a very athletic person and very strong and can do all these things. And so though underlying I've had pure intentions, the ego and my program perspective would deceive me as to what was pure or not. So like, yeah, so I had these pure intentions, that intuition that knows, the intuition that's pure, and would, you know, it would draw me to walk this way. But because my perspective was so scripted and indoctrinated by propaganda that was programmed into me, I would justify why not to go this way but go this way, just because of my conditioned beliefs on how, oh well, this could be pure, you know, this could be humane, you know, this could be righteous intentions, you know. And so the ego played a part with it, knew how to, because the ego was ultimately created alongside with that programming that was instilled. So the ego knows how to use my program perspective to deceive me as to what was pure or not. I innately knew what was pure, but because I wasn't very familiar with that, because I live in a society that doesn't talk about that type of pureness, and my ego would like bring these facts, right, of this society, of what we view as pure here, and it would use that and construe it in a way where it's like, look, you know, this is actually, and it would only make sense because it makes sense because I'm coming from my mind slave box rather than seeing the broader picture. So it was easy for me to be deceived as to seeing something that wasn't pure, though it was a better option than the other options within that mind slave box. I picked the best of the evils, you know. By using my conditioned beliefs as a way to validate why to steer into a certain direction. Yeah, so I'll read that again. Though underlying I've had pure intentions, the ego and my program perspective would deceive me as to what was pure or not. By using my conditioned beliefs as a way to validate why to steer in a certain direction. So, you know, because of my program perspective and set in this confinement of only seeing what I'm allowed to see in this slave matrix, you know, my conditioned beliefs would reason with my ego and be like, yeah, no, I guess you make sense, but these beliefs are they're constructed, you know. They're half truth. They're, you know, though that may work for a bit, someone who is hungry for truth and wants nothing but liberty and authenticity, the intuitive knowing that something is off grows and makes itself known as days upon days, and the wrong direction becomes question. Yeah, you know, because underlying my intentions were pure. I was fine with getting into all these modalities these past 5 years because I thought there was something in them. But as I stayed in them for month after month after month after month and delving into the knowledge more and more, talking to people in the community and just putting things together and just seeing like a cycle within the community and such, because all those modalities are rabbit holes, and they don't, and the reason why it's so complicated and feels like you have to study it for 5 years, 10 years before you can become a master at it is because it's full of superfluous knowledge. The truth is so simple. It's set in stone. It's so easy to comprehend. It's so simple that when we're faced with it, we don't even want to believe that it's that simple, because we're like, holy fuck, I've been living this complicated, super complex, overbearing life that, is it really this simple? Like, and living that simple, yeah. So, you know, that's what I said, the intuitive knowing that something is off. And with me, all these modalities I've been in, I would be full throttle into them. I'd be worshiping them on in. But then eventually, because I was in them for a while and I just saw like there was really no true change. It was like worshiping this modality and needing this modality and still seeing people completely, these masters who are still completely broken within and so confused and all about this world and just passive aggressive and narcissistic in subtle ways. Like, it started to make itself known as days upon days in these things in the wrong direction. It starts to become question. I start going, well, you know, if this is the modality that is the end all be all, why is there still all these issues? Why is, you know, all these things? I've reached the 35-day mark where I had my first cooked meal. My ego wanted it to be known that this was an experiment and not done out of weakness. I'll read that again. I've reached the 35-day mark where I had my first cooked meal. My ego wanted it to be known that this was an experiment and not done out of weakness. I was to experiment, then get right back onto juicing to build that vanity. I got back on juices for 5 or 6 days, and I ended up getting poison ivy. I ended up getting poison ivy 5 or 6 days after that cooked meal. And while having poison ivy, when I have poison ivy, all I want is comfort. So I ate raw fruits, veggies, and nuts in their solid form for 6 to 7 days. I needed that comfort. My experiences with poison ivy is just nuts. This I'll real quick explain. It's wild because doing that 35-day juice cleanse, I only had poison ivy for 6 or 7 days. By the 6th or 7th day, it was done. No more itching. It was just the scars that were left. And it's nuts because my entire life, every single time I got poison ivy, even if it started off as a little dot on my hand, it blistered all over. It went around my entire body. I mean, it would even form into big blisters, and I would have it for at least 2 weeks. Normally around 3 weeks is when it started fading away. And so when I got it this time, it did not spread. It had tiny dots that spread here and there, like a couple in my beard, a couple in my head, like a couple on my fingers, but they were just spread throughout. But the areas that were that actually got hit were the back of my legs, and the back of my legs, that, like, I didn't have any blisters or anything that connected, or it didn't spread, is what I'm trying to say. And it got defeated within 7 days. And so, and like I was saying, when I was on those juices, when I was those many days into my juice, it literally felt like I had a new blood. Like, I got the old blood pumped out of me, and I got brand new, clean, high technology blood pumped right back into me. And that's what I was thinking, is like my defense mechanism, my healing mechanism has strengthened. It's developed to where it can now fight things that it couldn't necessarily take on before, to the degree that it couldn't take on before. It could fight all these things, but it was at a much lower level. It was weak. It was a weak system going against these diseases, going against these viruses and such. But now, allowing my healing, my body's innate intelligence to heal itself, allowing that process to mature and develop, it's like it created more white blood cells to fight. It created more antibodies and things of that nature that fight against disease, that fight against intruders that are not meant to be in or on the body. And so, like, when the poison ivy came, I had more soldiers at the forefront to take care of that, rather than just 10 or 15. I had a fucking 200 men on the lineup ready to take on anything that were to come. When the poison ivy was gone, I ate a cooked meal. From here, I was going back and forth with eating cooked food and juicing. So take in mind, that was my first cooked meal after my cooked meal experiment, so my second cooked meal. But as soon as I had that second cooked meal, then this entire month I've just been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. From here, I was going back and forth with eating cooked food and juicing, all the way up until February 6th, 2024, which marked my first day back on juices. In this month period of having very little control for my addiction, I was highly observant. Every cooked meal, leading up to it, during it, and afterwards, I paid close attention to every detail, every single thing that was at play. I knew I wanted zero parts in participating in this activity, and it was definitely not something I wanted to get wrapped in and indulging in my addiction for 2 months straight, having abstained from it for a month. Because that's, when you don't have yourself in control, when you don't have the knowledge, when you don't have your why built, when you don't have your foundation built as to what you're doing, when you're still highly emotionally attached and mentally attached to these things, you can full throttle into a diet and do it for however long, but once you fall off, you're falling off, and you're going all in when you fall off. You could go 6 months all raw foods, and then you come with that justification to slip up once to have a cooked meal because you deserve it, see it as a reward, this or that, and man, you're wrapped back up into the game, and it's gonna take you for fucking 6 months to a year to get out of. So yeah, which is the whole thing, like me and my dad are saying, you can't go into these things not seeing the reality of what you're trying to do, because you can't break an addiction by abstaining from it. You have to face why you're addicted. You have to get to the root of it. You have to be honest. You have to be completely honest and see how that addiction even came about, and target it all the way at the root, because if you're doing what I was doing in my first 35 days juicing, you can distract yourself in every way, and you will find a way to constantly distract yourself, because and that's the thing, you're distracting yourself from what needs to be faced, from abstaining from self-destructive activities, and you'll have to constantly distract yourself, because the longer you abstain from those things, the more they fucking knock on your door. And so like a woman I met on a hike, she was like, yeah, I'm 5 years clean off alcohol, but if I were to be around a bottle, I'd finish it. I wouldn't be able to help myself. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like you've healed from it, and really, people like that, they're almost causing more damage abstaining from it while still having that attachment there, because it drives so much cognitive dissonance and adds so much stress to the body. Like, you'd be better off just drinking. And that just proves people who live up to 100, who drink multiple Pepsis throughout the day while smoking 1 to 2 packs of cigarettes and drinking a handle of liquor at the end of the day, they live to 100. And it's because they're so wrapped up in their dopamine hits. It's like they're never dealing with stress. Yes, they're toxifying their body, but at least they're not toxifying their body and knowing that they're toxifying their body. Like, they actually are finding relief in doing those things. And then, a health conscious person who's a physical trainer and this and that, and is so wrapped up in vain, they'll die at 50 years old, even though they ate completely healthy and they took care of their body. But the stress is the number one killer. The stress and the mindset. So I'll read that again. I know I wanted zero parts in participating in this activity, and it was definitely not something I wanted to get wrapped up in indulging in my addiction for 2 months straight, having abstained from it for a month. The days I wasn't eating cooked food, I would drink juice during this month, as I could only sustain drinking juice for 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 days. Shit, maybe just the beginning of day 1, and give in that evening. Because each day I woke up during that month, I was like, all right, I'm back on juice. I'm back on juice. And then that evening will come and right back to eating cooked food. Even on the days I only drank juice during that month, even on the days I only drank juice during that month duration from January to February, I paid extremely close attention to every detail. I wasn't only paying attention. I don't only pay attention to the detail of when I feel low, when I feel sad, when I feel upset, when I feel lack, when I feel a void, when I'm eating the cooked food, and just paying attention, well, why am I eating the cooked food as I'm eating the cooked food? No, I'm paying attention even on the times I feel good. What's making me feel good? What's, this and that. I'm questioning every single fucking thing of the reactions this avatar and this programming has to each moment that comes, and seeing why that is. Questioning even the good times, questioning the happy times, questioning even if it's a valid point, still questioning it, still why the fuck is my reaction like this to these things, and why do these things bring me this type of reaction? So yeah, it was even on the days I only drank juice during that month duration from January to February, I paid extremely close attention to every detail. I became a world-class investigator of my personal reality, my ego, my psyche, my urges, my cravings, my highs and my lows, my intentions, my reasonings, excuses, and justifications, my pleasures, my comforts, the cause and effects of decisions I would make. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped watching entertainment. I stopped scrolling through social media. All things I was doing before to distract myself from my reality. And I completely honed in on figuring out what the fuck is really going on. At every moment I got, I journaled. I investigated. I sat and contemplated. I walked in solitude. I no longer reacted on instinct, as instead of reacting on instinct, I observed what my instincts would have been. So I sat with it. So instead of, like I said, how I've been doing in the mornings, on the days I'm off work, as soon as I wake up, I will not get up, I will not start planning or nothing. I immediately observe what my reaction is as soon as my eyes open. And I observe the anxiety that comes. I observe the duties I set for myself to do. I observe the demands I set for myself to do. I observe the insecurities that rise. I observe, all these things. I observe the ego trying to say, look, we got to do this for this reason, this, and all these things. So instead of reacting, I observed what my instincts would have been if I were to react. So I sat with it, then addressed and processed through it with critical thought. I started becoming responsible. I started being courageous. I became extremely honest to a point I feared before, as being honest gets to the root of things, which the ego knows that leads to overcoming and letting go. The ego is fine with letting go only if there's another excitement coming along right after. But this type of honesty goes beyond the comfortability of the ego, and as it takes you into the unknown, as it puts you in the forefront of facing that which can only be dealt with by being truthful. It goes along with that saying, once you go black, you'll never go back. Well, once you're faced with the facts, ignorance will no longer contain its bliss. In this month of deep realizations, I became a new man, an honest man, a courageous one, a wise one, as now I am slaying dragons with the intent of reclaiming what is mine, getting to where I've been naturally drawn towards, but have had every course of action taking its place. The development of my innate knowing, the development of my discernment, the development of my humanity, the development of my intuition, now blast through all impediments that come to steer me in other directions. But with this strength, I must not get ahead of myself and try to take on all things at once, as I am still only in my developmental stage, day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment, as all that matters right now is this exact moment and how I choose to go about it. All the demons, all the challenges, all the entices will come in a moment's notice over a long duration of time. So I will take those moments of peace and relax and bringing myself to ease, as even being so all the demons, all the challenges, all entices will come in a moment's notice over a long duration of time. So I will take these moments of peace to relax and bring myself to ease, as even being so serene is a trigger for these demons to attack. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, man, it's a major fucking difference from when I first started juicing to now. All those cooked meals that I kept feeling like were setbacks, though I was highly observant during that time, I started realizing, because after the cooked meal and I got into the first 2 cooked meals after that, I was like, man, dude, I'm getting reeled back in. I'm feeling it. And I was like, man, I'm setting myself back. I'm slowing my progress, this and that. But as I continued on just being my own world-class investigator and just fucking observing every single moment leading up to it, during it, after it, the days before it, the days after. I mean, everything. Even during my high times, even during my discipline times, still questioning everything, paying attention to everything. And yeah, it's so I started seeing, yeah, I'm not, as that month went along, and definitely now with where I'm at today, and even when I was going back into my day one of juicing, 7 days ago, 8 days ago, I was like, holy shit, like all those experiences, that cooked meal experiment turned into a month experiment, pretty much, with everything I learned in that month, with the deep realizations, with the critiqueness in it all. I mean, just everything. Like, I was like, I'm just so blown away by how much I actually gained from that month of thinking I was slowing down my progress. Because all that, all those experiences, everything I learned in that month, it feels like it's just, it's actually gonna create leaps and bounds in my healing now, because it's deep in my knowing. It's critiqued my discernment. It's developed my intuition, not developed my intuition, but made me more in tune with my intuition. As my dad has explained in the video, the difference between intuition and memory. Memory is more conditioned and programmed. Intuition is more of an innate feeling, because we innately know right from wrong. We innately know how to discern by humane judgment. But we get caught up in the memory of what we've learned from our abusers, what we've learned from our teachers, our authorities, our indoctrinators, and our prison guards, our parents, who didn't know any better. And so we refer we critically think, we reason by using our memory that's full of propaganda, indoctrination, slavery programming, limiting conditioned beliefs. We use that to justify how we're going about, and that's a thing. But we have that intuition, we have that responsible guy, that voice that's just like, not really, like, dude, are you that's not actually a good choice to be making, that's not a proper decision. But we're like, and we feel that, but then immediately, it's like, I remember for me, it would only last 5 seconds, and I could quickly justify, well, I need to go this way because this, that, and the other, and this is what makes the most sense in this world, right, in this reality. And so yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, getting more in tune with my intuition rather than developing my intuition, because my intuition is just my innate knowing that's just been suppressed. It hasn't been torn apart or perverted. It's just been suppressed with a bunch of bullshit stacked on top of it. And so it's cutting through all that bullshit. But man, the ego, the things that play here to keep you wrapped up in your addictions and keep you attached to this 3D and such, it's the parasites, it's your ego, which is your survival character, which is based off your programming and your limiting conditioned beliefs, your addictions, your habits, your coping mechanisms, all that. And then the matrix, which because its signals are going on 24/7, like I've said. Well, I don't think I posted that video, but I was talking how just know, like, right now on my radio station, I can tune in to any radio station that's playing here, and they're right in front of me. There is 20-40 different radio stations playing on a very subtle level that I can't even hear it, but it's probably being played into my subconscious, And those are just the radio stations here, right? Then you got the actual signals of the matrix that because this matrix is on a grid, it's a total enslavement grid, and it's got its own frequency. It's got its own frequency, and that's why I don't connect with the earth frequency. I don't connect. The only thing I connect with is my essence. That's it. The only thing I connect with is my own essence, because that is what I can know as to be pure. You get into a spiritual community, they're all about connecting with the frequency of the earth, the frequency of nature, and I'm like, no, fuck that, dude. I don't know what that entails, what that's tied up with, but yeah, so just thinking of that, so back to what I was saying about the matrix, it puts those signals, it has these propaganda signals going on all the time. Like my dad has said, you're never going to experience the pleasure and comfort of cooked food again. You're never going to experience the comfort of a home cooked meal again. Like just, and it can be many things. It's the signals are constantly reinforcing the imbuement of the indoctrination and the propaganda that has been imbued into us. The signals of the matrix continually reinforces those things, and yeah, it's just on levels we can't even hear it, you know. Which I believe we won't be fucked with those things as we continue healing, because we'll build, people call it their aura, but it's called the biofield, which is actually like the first line of defense in our lymph system, which reaches outside of us. And it's the science into it is it's 70% of our defense mechanism. So that's been so diminished to now we're down to our third line of defense. But it's so things are able to get into us that are toxic through our ears, through our eyes, through our nose, mouth, skin, and even without us intentionally putting it into us, it's still going into us. Like those frequencies, like these radio frequencies are probably fucking with me right now. The signals of the matrix are fucking with me right now. But as I heal, as I detach, as I reclaim, as I build my essence back up, as I knock out this ego and this attachments and beliefs and everything else, my defense, like I said, how my defense mechanism already was developing just by going 35 days on juice. That's what's happening. That defense mechanism is going to build up so much to where now it starts going outward of my flesh, and creating this aura, creating this bubble around me, to where those frequencies go boink, 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 you know, and they never even reach my skin. Yeah, I mean, we are powerful beyond belief. It's just that's a whole video in and of itself. Shit, that's probably a series in and of itself, of just how the intricacy of the powers of what we have, you know, it's nuts. We hold so much power, so much energy. And yeah, so yeah, man, huge difference. Just so much more determined with the path I'm taking now. Just so much smarter, just in this knowing. I mean, I just know now, and it's crazy, because I've been writing a lot recently, even at work. I mean, I'm just writing the whole time. Anytime I have a break, even taking an extra break. No, not even an extra break, but I get, because I work 8+ hours, sometimes I get 3 breaks. So each break I'm just writing, and I've even taken my phone with me sometimes on the floor, because if a thought comes, I'll write it down, or if I try to reason through something real quick, and it's going too much in my head, I'll just get on my phone real quick and go into my notes and just kind of write this down real quick. And yeah, so because I'm documenting these things, and documenting the justifications and the reasons, and justifications and the excuses, and man, the justifications are fucking nuts. I mean, shit, No, I don't have my little booklet right now. I have this little booklet I take to work and use that as my journal. And yeah, I just write how these the justifications to eat are going on in my head. Because man, so I'll tell you, day 2 on this juice cleanse, day 2 I got so close to eating. I was battling with myself for like 2 hours straight, and it was so crazy because I have such this deep knowing now, and I have all this knowledge now, and I have all this experience now, that I would be constantly be bouncing in and out of this craving. And but the craving was just so strong. I even had my food ordered. I didn't put the order in, but I had it made. I looked up all kinds of things of what I wanted. Like I said, that it started off with just wanting one thing to end up wanting to order 5 things and even mix them together, or go and get some sauces from the grocery store to put more sauce on it when I got it. Like all these fucking things, right? Anytime I've gotten to that point, I had to full throttle into it. I had to go with that decision, because if I didn't, my body would start to freak out. Like I would really start to freak out, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. Or if I did go to sleep, because I forced myself, I was like, no, I'm not eating tonight. This is back when I would fast. I'd be like, have my mind set on a 72-hour fast, but I'd be so hungry the first or second night, right? And I'd be like, no, and then I'd lay down and I just couldn't sleep. But then eventually I'd pass out for an hour or two, and then I'd wake back up, and I'd wake back up, and then I'd be like, man, fuck it, I'm gonna eat. And because it just drive me so nuts, I'd wake up anxious. I'd wake up feeling like I have a void that needs to be filled. And so yeah, because before, what I would do when I'd first get the cravings, I'd be like, no, I don't want it, but it wouldn't be a definitive answer. It wouldn't be a for sure, no, I'm not fucking having it, and this is why I'm not having it, and reasoning it all the way down to a deep level. I would be like, no, because really I did want it. So I would just be like, no, and I kind of shove it off. But I'd be like, if I'm still dealing with the craving in an hour or two, or later in the day, then maybe I'll do it, And so I wouldn't like say, no, get the fuck away from me. I'd be like, if you want to come back later and see what I think later, I might take you up on the offer. So I would leave that room to play, and so that's what I was dealing with the second night. But I just I have so much experience in knowing now that for me to do something like that now I would just have to be like, man, I'm a weak motherfucker. Like I am weak as fuck. I have no willpower. I am careless. I'm self-centered. I only care to satisfy my pleasures. Like I would have to get real on that level with myself to be able to do that, because it's like there's no more justifications. I ran through every single fucking justification I could have used. I mean, very deceptive fucking excuses, justifications to get me to eat, and I went through them all. I mean, it's got me thinking, even the cooked meal experiment was a deception, was a justification of its own. That's what I write, right? I said, yeah, right here. My ego wanted it to be known. It wanted it to be known to others. It wanted others to know. Because I was talking all about it, all about my juicing. But because I was craving that cooked food so fucking bad, I had to come up with an excuse, a justification why. And so my ego wanted it to be known to everyone, and known to myself, known to the intuition, because I knew something else was going on. But the experiment was like, no, it's just, or the ego was like, no, it's just an experiment. We're just experimenting. So that this was an experiment and not done out of weakness, because I didn't want to seem weak. I didn't want to seem like an addict. But that's the truth of it. It was coming from weakness. It was an addiction. It was coming from an addiction. It was coming from fiending for it. It wasn't coming because it was an experiment. That whole month, this whole journey's been an experiment. But that whole month was the experiment in and of itself. And the experiment took being real. The experiment, to get the full experience from that, for it to become an experiment, was finally having the balls to become personally responsible, to face my shit, to see things exactly for what they are, and not excusing or construing it in any way. And just being courageous and honest. The courage helps you dig deep, and the honesty helps you see it for what it is. The courage helps you to actually take stand and walk into it and face it, and the honesty helps you dissect it and figure out what is really going on. And it literally took that to get out of it, to mature from this, to develop from this. It took it took actually anyways, but yeah, so I dealt with that on day 2. And so what I'm saying, because and then the past 2 days I've been dealing with the urge to eat, but and I've been close. I think it was 2 days ago, I was close to just going out and getting something. So what I'm getting to is that I didn't do it. I didn't fall in. I didn't succumb. But I also didn't deal with that feeling of insanity after, that feeling of uneasiness after. It was like a relief, because it was a relief when I didn't do it, because I came with the definitive answer of saying, no, this is why. I see what my dad has been talking about with how he has had to get through his cravings, and how it's all throughout the day, and how I literally it's a battle all fucking day. It's reassuring, because it's crazy. Even on day 1, 2, and 3, I've already said the reasons why not to. I've already went through the entire process, went through the whys and what's gonna happen, this and that, everything. There's so much that you have to articulate for you to come to an understanding and agreement with that craving, and being like, okay, this is why I'm not doing it. It takes a whole fucking speech to defeat it. But it's crazy. You wake up the next day and you gotta do it again, and you gotta do it again the next day, and you gotta do it again the next day. I think it was yesterday, I got to work and I was like, fuck, man. The cravings started coming, and I was like, and I started doing my thing. And it's crazy because, today's day 8, and those first 7 days, it just felt natural to do. Okay, I'm dealing with these things, I gotta face them, I'm reasoning through it, blah blah blah. But then when yesterday came, and they came again, it was like I was tired of the battle already. I was like, man, fuck, I gotta do this shit again. I already know. Why do I gotta tell myself? Why do I gotta go through the whole script again on on defeating these things? I should already. But no, but that is a way of proving that you love and respect yourself. That is major, doing that. Having to go through the suck in order to overcome it and not have to deal with it ever again. So it's proving that I love and respect myself. It's all those things, very great. yeah, I've really changed. I've been optimistic in a way of viewing these cravings, viewing these challenges, viewing these lows and such as an opportunity to become wiser, as an opportunity to develop my willpower, as an opportunity to become stronger, to become yeah. And really asserting my will, practicing asserting my will and strengthening my will to choose what I want to choose and not what my program and my habits are, to just move about mindlessly and reactionally and instinctively, you know, to not move in that manner, but move in the manner where I'm critically thinking and I come with an honest reasoning as to what decision to actually make. And man, I feel the power like it's crazy because, yeah, saying no to the food and then being able to go about my day without feeling any uneasiness and actually feel a feeling of relief because, yeah, I mean, I just feel myself strengthening. Like it's a whole different experience. I mean, it's completely different. It's nothing I ever thought I was going to be experiencing before. Because I was coming still from ego. I was coming from still wanting my cake and eat it too, you know. Yeah, it's wild, man. Yeah, it's very wild. But this brings, I mean, I feel the most at ease I've ever been at, even still dealing with all these cravings and addictions and such. It's just my mindset's different, my attitude's different. I'm behaving differently. I have this assurance in me of what I'm doing. So yeah, it's very important building up that why and constructing your foundation with the right knowledge and such, and building on your knowing, building on your why, and having those intentions set, creating those intentions out of seeing the reality of what you're doing, you know, not creating them out of hope and out of ego. Really, yeah. So that's where I'm at today, day 8, February 14th, 2024. That is where I'm at with all this. It is pretty wild. Yeah, and I'm ready for the next moment, because I've seen, man, already doing what I'm doing, the strength I feel, the confidence I feel, the ease I have, I mean, it's pretty wild. The patience I have, everything. So yeah, that's it.